Hi, everyone. Could you all give me a thumbs up or put in the chat if you can hear me? Perfect. Thank you. We'll begin in just a second. While we're waiting for other folks to join us, if you wouldn't mind just putting in the chat how you learned about this workshop or what you're hoping to gain from the workshop today. And again, for those just joining us now, we'll get started in 1 minute. If you wouldn't mind just putting in the chat either how you learned about the workshop or one thing that you're hoping to gain from today's session. Okay. I've never been taught how to write a cover letter / what employers are looking for, so I'm looking forward to the session as a whole. Great, we'll definitely talk about that. And heard about this from the last workshop on resumes, hoping to write a stronger cover letter. Perfect. We'll give it just 1 more minute. Okay, I found out about this service through Trachtenberg Career Services newsletter. I have some internships I'm applying for and need some tips on cover letters. Great. All right. So we will go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. My name is Erin Ahart. I'm one of 2 career counselors here serving all graduate students in the Columbian College of Arts and Sciences. Our other career counselor is Dr. Johnette Ruffner-Caesar. Some of you might have seen her in another workshop, perhaps in the Revolutionary Resume Next Level workshop or in a one-on-one appointment. But I'm so happy that you all are here today. And again, as folks are joining, I'm just going to let a couple more people in. Okay. And before we get started, I just want to make sure that everyone can see my screen. So give me a thumbs up or put it in the chat. Okay, thumbs up. Great. Awesome. So again, thank you so much for being here. Today's workshop is A Cover Letter is Like a Love Letter. I'm guessing that many of you are here either to learn about cover letters or because you saw this title and thought this is an interesting or a silly title and you just want to learn what this is all about. So in today's workshop, I'll be teaching you about love letter format as a way to write cover letters and really cater them to each employer for every job application that you create. And so hopefully by the end of this meeting today, cover letters will be a little less scary, a lot less daunting, and you'll definitely walk out of here feeling like you know how to write one. This workshop is also just one workshop out of our entire career readiness workshop series. We started this series back in September with career readiness orientation, where we shared all about the different career resources that all graduate students in the Columbian College of Arts and Sciences have access to. And then a couple weeks ago and last week, we started our Revolutionary Resume series, which is a 2-part workshop with Revolutionary Resume Back to Basics and then Revolutionary Resume Next Level. And so, of course, that workshop was all about resumes. And if you missed any of our workshops or this is your first time, please reach out to us via our email, which I'll share in the next couple of slides. And we're happy to send you any recordings that you would like. So again, I am one of 2 career counselors here. You can make an individual appointment with either one of us on Handshake by going to the link below. You will receive the slides and the recording after this workshop, so no need to write that down right now, but of course you're welcome to. And you can ask us any question about our services or anything career related by emailing us at ccas_careers@gwu.edu. Okay. So just a little bit more about me. I want to share that I was trained at Penn State University, which is actually where I learned about love letter format. So this is not just something that I made up on my own. This is an actual technique that other career counselors use. After Penn State, I went on to work in employer relations, which is another area of career services where I worked with employers, recruiters, and HR professionals to plan all of the large scale career programming events at my last university. So again, you can email me, check out my LinkedIn profile, or request to schedule an appointment on Handshake. In this session today, you will receive an in-depth overview of the love letter format, unlock the top 3 characteristics of standout cover letters and how to integrate these characteristics into your own cover letter, and you'll understand the logic behind what to include in your cover letter, plus how to use proper organization and formatting techniques. So let's get started with what is the purpose of a cover letter? Why do you actually need one? One of the common questions I get is, what if a cover letter is optional? Do I still need to submit one? And so I'm about to answer that question right now. Now, something that I just learned a couple of weeks ago that I find very interesting and that I thought you all would too is the history of how cover letters got started. So Leonardo da Vinci actually wrote the very first cover letter to the Duke of Milan that listed his skills and qualifications back when he was alive in the era of the 1400s, 1500s. So I just thought this was interesting. He was way ahead of his time in many ways, and even in the area of career development and employment, because communicating your value in, verbally and also in written language has always been really important. Now, the term cover letter as we use it today was first used in 1956 in a New York Times ad for an industrial paint chemist position. And after the use of it for the first time in that ad, cover letters were the standard for most job applications by 1965. Again, I think a light bulb just went off in people's minds and said, okay, we've been using resumes, we have a list of people's qualifications, but why are all these things important? Because the cover letter is really your time to supplement your resume and share why all of your qualifications should matter to the employer. So that's the history of the cover letter. But fast forward today and why it matters so much that you have one and why you apply with one, even if it's optional on the application, is because of the use of online applications and AI. In the old days, back in the 50s and 60s, people were still either writing these letters by hand or printing them out, I assume, or using a typewriter to write them up. And cover letters got their name because they were put on top of the resume, kind of like the first page or the title page of an essay or a paper that you would write for a class. So that's why it's the cover letter. The intent is that you would read it first and then get to your resume. Well, now a resume is really the first thing that employers look at. The cover letter is to supplement this. So today, with the use of online applications and AI, what this means is that it's much easier to apply for positions, and people are applying for way more positions than they ever did before. But with this, it actually increases competition for different positions. If you're an employer and you're reviewing 20 applications instead of 10, that takes much more time and there's more people to compare one applicant's application to. But this is very overwhelming for HR professionals and employers. And so that's why there are statistics out there for resumes. They only read resumes for an average of 7.2 seconds before deciding if they're going to give that applicant an interview. And so don't submit a generic cover letter. If there's anything you take away from the session, you need to personalize it to each employer to make it worth their time. Since they are evaluating so many more applications, they need to know that it's worth their time to interview you because they should know that you're actually interested in the position and in the company. So what is a cover letter? I already shared that it's different from your resume. Your resume is really a list of your qualifications, and your cover letter is spelling it out for the employer. Why should what I bring to the table actually matter to you? But I mentioned that your cover letter is an opportunity to stand out from the crowd and share why you're really interested in the employer and the position. So I want to bring it back to that word, opportunity. Your cover letter is not just something that you check the box and submit it. It's an opportunity to tell your story, to showcase your writing skills, to explain any gaps in your resume. It's an opportunity to direct the employer's attention to certain aspects of their talent so they know what to focus on, especially if you're a person who has a lot of different experiences and skills. It's also an opportunity to show off your personality, of course, while still keeping it professional. So you can choose to tackle any number of these things in your cover letter. But again, the ultimate goal is to get yourself an interview by showing the employer that you have what they're looking for. So what are employers looking for in a cover letter? They're looking for three things. First, your cover letter should demonstrate your knowledge of the position and the organization. In other words, they should know that you did your research and you actually know what position or company you're applying to work at. Second, your cover letter should demonstrate your genuine interest in and excitement about the position and organization. Do you actually want to work there? Based on what you learned through doing your research and gaining this knowledge. And finally, the most important piece is that a cover letter should demonstrate that you are aware of how your excitement and the experience you bring align with the organization and what the employer is looking for. Do you know what skills you bring to the table and how you can apply these skills to be successful within the organization? Now, if you can do these three things, your cover letter will be 99.9% better than the majority of cover letters that are submitted in online applications. So this is really, really important, even if you don't follow the love letter format that I'm about to share with you. You just need to communicate these things clearly and make sure that what you're trying to say is received in the way you intend. And of course, you can make sure that things come across in the right way by meeting with a career counselor or just getting a friend to proofread the letter. Now, not all of us are great writers. I understand that. And most of us don't even know how to start our cover letter. It can be really paralyzing because you have so much opportunity. Writer's block is a real thing. And so that's exactly where love letter format comes in. But before you actually write the letter, based on these three different buckets that I just shared, it's important to have a little brainstorming session. So for each application, kind of brainstorm in two different blocks or areas. You can group knowledge and interest together because based on the research that you do, that should be why you're interested in the company. And then awareness is a separate area that you should be answering these questions on the screen. So for knowledge and interest, think about what you know about the position and the organization as a whole, either through reading the job description or looking at the company website, maybe learning about the company through networking opportunities or informational interviews, conversations with people you know. Then write down what about the position and the organization actually piques your interest. Why do these things matter to you? Why are you applying for this position in the first place? And then on the other hand, under awareness, what skills, experience, and or personal traits do you have that are also required or preferred qualifications in the job description? And what unique strengths do you have that set you apart from other candidates? So that is how you make the employer happy. If you can do those things, again, your cover letter will be better than 99% of cover letters out there. But I'm sure you all also heard that what you put out into the world is what you get back in return. That's very true for making friends. It's also true in the hiring process. So share what's important to you as well. It's very important to cater to the employer. It's also important that this letter and this piece of writing is authentic to you. So what are you most proud of? What do you want to be remembered by? Remembered for? What do you want to be known for? So think about that as you're writing as well. So we're just about to get into love letter format. Now, before we get into that, there are some basic formatting things that I want you to know. Once you do this, you can use the same format for every cover letter. The content is, of course, just what you're going to change. Before we get into this, I just want to pause. Does anyone have any questions about anything that I've shared so far? No? Okay, so we'll move on. If at any point you have a question, feel free to raise your hand or put the question in the chat. So some basic formatting information. The first thing you see here on the screen is actually my own resume header. So one thing that people usually don't know when I work with them is that you should be using your resume header on your cover letter. And the reason why is because it presents your application as a cohesive package. If an employer were to be really traditional and print out every job application that they receive, they would see that both the resume and the cover letter go together. And the same really applies for online too. They know exactly who this cover letter belongs to. You'll see some typical things that are usually included on a resume in this header, like the location, email, phone number, LinkedIn URL. But then below that, you'll see the date. So you should include the date on your cover letter in month, day, year format. And then you also want to do your best to address your letter to a specific person. So this is actually a letter template that I created when I was working with my students, just to use as an example. I'm not applying for a job in Iowa. Just want everyone to know that. But this is the name of the person on a job description that I was referencing when creating this example. And the talent acquisition specialist, that's that person's title. So because this person was listed in the job description as a point of reference, you should include that on your letter. If you don't have anyone listed in the job description for the job you're applying for, you should be doing more research to see if maybe if it's a small company, they have one or two HR business partners listed on the website. Those could be people you address your cover letter to. If you know who would be interviewing you or who would be your direct supervisor, that would also be a great person to address your cover letter to. And I want to share that it's still important because even if you list the wrong person, it shows that you tried. It's another clue to the employer that you're doing your research and you're really trying to give them the best cover letter possible. I'll let you guys in on a little secret. When applying for this job as a career counselor at GW, I couldn't find the right person to address my cover letter to. So I ended up addressing it to the wrong person by accident. I still got the job because I showed that I really cared and really took the time to write my cover letter and really even focus on the little details like this. You should also be including the address. Now, on resumes, it's becoming outdated to include your full address. Employers don't need to know your zip code, where you live. They don't need to mail you anything. And so you can see on my resume header that I have Washington, DC, or you would do city, state, Arlington, VA, Virginia. But on a cover letter, it's still typical to include the name of the organization or company and the full address. I don't know when this will become outdated, but for now, if a really traditional person is reviewing your letter, you might as well include it and stay on the safe side. And then below that, you would address it by saying dear and then the person's name. If you don't have anyone to address it to, you tried your best, you can't find someone, say dear hiring manager. Now we're getting into the fun part, love letter format. So before getting into the first paragraph that you see on the screen, the gist of the format is that your cover letter should be separated into 3 parts or 3 paragraphs for the sake of this example today. The first paragraph or part should be why you love them. The second part, which we'll cover in a second, will be why they should love you. And the third part is why you would work well together. So that's love letter format. And now we'll kind of break it down. But you don't need to write all of those steps down because we'll break it down piece by piece. So in the first paragraph, why you love them. This is where you demonstrate the interest and knowledge piece that we talked about before. Why you're interested in the organization, what research you've done to back up why you're interested. Employers, again, want to know that you're really interested before they take the time to interview you and even read the rest of your letter. So if you go, right into talking about why you're so great, that might impress some people, but it's even more impressive if you talk about the alignment part first. And so that really hooks them and gets them to read the rest of your letter in its entirety. So start with a standard greeting and state the position and organization. You want to share, what job you're applying for, especially if it's a large company and they're reviewing applicants for multiple positions. You can also share where you heard about the position from, especially if you know someone who works at the company. Now is the time to mention that person, as long as you've asked their permission to mention their name in the letter. Then you want to share what excites you about the opportunity and why, and end with a brief transition sentence. So here's an example. The highlighted piece are keywords and phrases that are taken directly from the job description. So, dear hiring manager, I'm thrilled to apply for the chemist position at L'Oreal Research and Innovation in the Nail Development Department. Here, this person is stating what position they're applying for and in what department at what company. And I did just get a question, can you share the slides after the meeting? The answer is yes, you will get the slides and the recording. So moving on. Now this person is sharing an anecdote, why they're interested. Growing up, I watched my family come together over nail painting sessions, and I've cherished my own weekly nail care routine as a source of relaxation while pursuing my MS in chemistry at the George Washington University. Joining L'Oreal would allow me to contribute my passion for chemistry to creating and enhancing top-tier, affordable nail products that resonate with people like my family and me. I'm equally excited about the opportunity to be a part of a team that celebrates creativity, innovation, and responsible beauty. I look forward to sharing more about my experience and enthusiasm for L'Oreal. So this first paragraph is also great because in the job description, it said that a requirement for the job is that a person has a personal connection to the mission or the products at L'Oreal. And so this person is sharing a very clear personal connection. They also mentioned creativity, innovation, and responsible beauty in the job description. And you'll see in following paragraphs that this person backs up this commitment to those three things throughout the rest of the letter. So it's really setting the stage. And then I look forward to sharing more about my experience and enthusiasm for L'Oreal. That's the transition sentence and invites them to read the rest of the letter. Now, here's a pro tip. I technically wrote this last paragraph, but I used ChatGPT to help me write it. And this is a tip that I'm going to tell you all that you can use, but we're going to talk about how to use it the right way. So on the screen here, you'll see that this left box is what I drafted myself. So it's a little more personable, a little less professional, provides a little too much information with the family story, and it's a little longer. So what I did, and I just want to clarify, this is a perfectly fine first paragraph, but I'm just giving you ways to use ChatGPT to come up with multiple examples. So I inputted this that I wrote myself, and then I used this prompt at the top of the screen. Edit the first paragraph of a cover letter to be more persuasive and clearly communicate this applicant's excitement about and alignment with the role. And so again, this is the before. What's really important is that you don't use ChatGPT as a starting point, because otherwise anything unique about you is stripped away. It doesn't know you. But if you write the first paragraph and really any paragraph of your cover letter yourself, your voice will stay in this paragraph. And you're not asking ChatGPT to generate ideas for you. You're asking it to edit for clarity or provide any specific guidelines that you want ChatGPT to change your writing. And so I use the word persuasive in this prompt because I got this tip from another career counselor at GW that ChatGPT really likes the word persuasive. And so it'll make things a little more concise, a little more clear. And I also asked it to clearly communicate the excitement and alignment, which I've already shared are two of the most important things that you do in this first paragraph. Now, I used to be of the mindset that we shouldn't use ChatGPT, but I understand that it's really difficult to ask everybody to spend hours on a cover letter, especially if you're applying to a lot of different positions, you have a tight timeline, you really need a job, and you need to get your name out there. And so this is not a crutch. This is not something, again, that you use to start your writing with. It's something that you use to help you as a tool. but everything should still be tailored to the employer. And you also, I know I'm repeating myself. I'm really trying to drive this point home. You want to check everything because sometimes ChatGPT inputs false information. And that would be the last thing you want is in an interview for someone to ask you, oh, I saw in your cover letter and your resume that you increased productivity by 30%. Can you talk about that? And that number was wrong and you didn't proofread your letter. And then you have to be honest with them and share why there's that difference. So again, pros and cons, but I really wanted to share this as an option. Now, going into the second paragraph, why they should love you. Start with a thesis statement, again, to direct their attention to specific parts of what you're going to say. Choose 3 things from your resume to highlight, but you can also include things that are not on your resume, like any personal traits or soft skills that you want to highlight. I also mentioned that your cover letter is a great time to explain any gaps in your resume, so this is also an area where you could do that. And then you want to explain why each trait, experience, skill that you mentioned should matter to the employer. And you will do this by explicitly connecting it back to the job description using exact language from the job description. So this is where you're demonstrating, yes, your knowledge of the position and organization, but more importantly, your awareness of how the experiences you bring align with the organization and what the employer is looking for. And so this is where the second block of the brainstorming activity that I shared with you all earlier comes into play. Again, it's where you can state what you're most proud of. What's the thing that's most relevant to the position? And you want to put that first. Again, you don't know if they'll read the whole thing, so put whatever's most relevant first. What sets you apart from other candidates? What's a unique skill, perspective, experience, background, or personality trait that allows you to do the job better or differently from someone else? What skills or experience do you have that shows them you check off the boxes of what they're looking for in the job description? And what do you want to be remembered for? Okay, so another pro tip, I always tell my students this when I'm working with people on their cover letters, spell it out for them. Connect your experience to the job description. And the reason why is because the first person reading your cover letter is probably AI, because places, job search engines like Indeed, LinkedIn, Handshake, they all use what we call applicant tracking systems that kind of filter through and review resumes and cover letters before it gets to the HR professional or the hiring professional. The second person is likely an HR professional who's not an expert in your role around what you do, especially if you're applying to work at the federal government. Your supervisor or potential future supervisor won't read that until it goes through the Office of Personnel Management first. They review your cover letter and your resume to make sure that everything matches to what they're looking for in the job description. So how do you cater to these 2 readers? You cater to AI by using explicit language, so words or phrases from the job description, when connecting your experience to what they're looking for in the job description. So you want to use specific words or phrases because when the ATS is, reading this, they'll put your application at the top for the hiring professional to read first if they see more words and phrases that are used from the job description. But don't just add those words and phrases in if they're not descriptive of what you actually bring to the table. So if you see that they want supervisory experience, make sure you have supervisory experience when adding that keyword or phrase in your cover letter, and prove it and explain in detail what you bring to the table as a supervisor. You also want to make it easier for the HR professional to understand why you're the right person for the job. In the Office of Personnel Management, they don't know, the specifics for each federal agency, what they're looking for and what they need, other than what they've been provided with in the job description. And you'll see another pro tip. That person reading your resume and your cover letter should be able to take a highlighter and find similarities between the resume, cover letter, and the job description. Okay. And so here's an example paragraph 2, why they should love you. Again, I said this could be paragraphs or parts. So I used 2 paragraphs here because I felt like this applicant really needed 2 paragraphs to connect all of their relevant experiences to the job description. So you can keep this why they should love you portion in anywhere from 1 to 3 paragraphs, but the key thing here is that your cover letter should be 1 page. So if you find yourself going on to 2 pages, you really need to trim it back. So I'll read this one aloud as well. And again, all the highlighted pieces are from the job description. My internship at Estee Lauder best prepared me for this role, providing me with valuable technical expertise, safety knowledge, and collaborative experience within a high-performing team. There, I contributed to the successful launch of 3 new skincare products within a tight 6-month timeline. In this job description stated that they wanted someone who could work within tight deadlines. And so that's why it was really important for this person to share this little anecdote here. So to continue, I was responsible for conducting stability tests and ensuring compliance with safety regulations, which will allow me to successfully conduct stability tests and retrieve safety approvals in this role. That was another requirement of the role. Additionally, my commitment to community impact aligns perfectly with L'Oreal's dedication to responsible beauty. Last year, I led a volunteer initiative at my university, organizing donation drives that raised over $3,000 in canned goods for local food pantries. I'm excited about the opportunity to contribute my skills and experience to a company that shares my values. And we also know that it was really important for L'Oreal employees to share a connection with the mission and or the products. So on to the second paragraph. Serving as a research assistant at the George Washington University was equally transformative. I collaborated with my professor on a project investigating novel chemical bonding techniques. This experience honed my analytical skills and taught me to think creatively when facing unexpected challenges in the lab. For instance, when a formulation didn't yield the desired results, I proposed adjusting the solvent ratios and experimenting with different polymer blends. This approach not only enhanced the product's performance, but also led to a more efficient production process. This hands-on experience directly aligns with the innovative spirit of L'Oreal, where I'm excited to apply my problem-solving skills to develop innovative, high-performance nail products that truly resonate with consumers. And so why is this a great example? I already shared a couple reasons. But the applicant is not only talking about skills, but how her experience and what she did really highlights shared values that she has. Okay. And last but not least, paragraph 3 or part 3 is why you would work well together. So in this paragraph, you're establishing the mutually beneficial relationship between you and the employer. You're going to help them as much as they're going to help you grow in the next stage of your career. You are answering the problem that the employer has and that the employer is trying to solve. So in this paragraph, you want to summarize your experience and excitement about the position and organization very briefly in 1 to 2 sentences. This is the shortest paragraph in your entire cover letter. You're providing a call to action, so mention next steps and restate your contact information. The reason why you want to restate your contact information is because when they see it again later in the letter, even though they're already seeing it in the header, is that it tells the employer, oh, yeah, I made it all the way to the end. I really like this person. Now this is my call to action to email them or pick up the phone to offer them an interview. And then finally, always thank them for considering your application. This is really important. And remember that this paragraph is your final chance to wow them. It's your last impression. So how can you summarize your experience and why they should bring you in for an interview? Okay. And so here's an example of the last paragraph, why you would work well together. And this, I also just want to say, this is a pretty general paragraph. I think that this person could have made the first 2 sentences a little bit more personal, but they're also adding personal touches and personal stories in the first paragraph and talking about values throughout. So they've already shared the alignment there. But if you haven't yet and you want to make it more personal, you could definitely go more personal in the first couple sentences. But to read this paragraph, I'm genuinely excited about the opportunity to join L'Oreal's nail development team and make a difference for the consumers we serve. I'm confident that my passion for chemistry, combined with the skills and experience I gained at Estee Lauder and through my research and volunteer work, make me the best candidate for this role. I would love the opportunity to discuss how my background and enthusiasm can support your team in an interview. Please feel free to reach me at my phone number or via email. Thank you for considering my application. I look forward to hearing from you. And so this last piece is done really well. It's very standard. You could use most of the language used here in your own letter. So I would love the opportunity to discuss how my background and enthusiasm can support your team in an interview. So key is here is saying in an interview. That's part of the call to action. And I know some people have a hard time with using very forward language like that, but there is no better time to brag and be very direct than in your application materials, because other people will do this. The key phrase here is also how my background and enthusiasm can support your team. Again, this is a relationship. You're both helping each other, the employer and the potential person who they're hiring. And then again, they state their phone number and their email. They say thank you. And then I look forward to hearing from you. Comes across, very excited, and yet it's still reminding them this is a call to action. It's your time to invite me in for an interview. And finally, I know sometimes it can be hard to picture a cover letter and how some of these paragraphs work together if it's not your own letter that you're writing. So what you'll also receive after this meeting today is not just the slides and the recording, but you will receive a cover letter template with the full letter, so you can see how all these paragraphs work together to form a cohesive letter. You'll see the areas which are highlighted from the job description. You'll receive a reminder to use your own resume header at the top, or you can use this formatting and edit your resume to steal this resume header as well. It has reminders to add the hiring manager's name and title, a reminder to cater every cover letter to the employer. And then it says why you love them, why they should love you, and why you would work well together. And at the bottom, one thing that I forgot to say is that if you have room, and this cover letter is very long, but if you shorten it and you do the 3-paragraph model, after your name, you'll do sincerely or best regards or any closing statement, then you'll include an e-signature and then type out your name. So the e-signature is, you can use Adobe if you know how to use that, or find another way online to use a pen feature if you have an iPad or something. Maybe there are different apps you can use for that. But write out and sign in cursive your signature and then add this to the letter. And that's a really personal touch. Again, it's showing that you're paying attention to every detail and you really care, and this really matters to you. So I'm going to open the floor for questions in just a second, because I know I was talking for a while and I want to make sure I answer all of your questions. But really quickly, we do have some events coming up. I know some of you attended our recent workshops that I learned about in the chat today. So we have Resume Madness coming up next week on Wednesday, which is not a workshop. It's an all-day event where instead of our typical 45-minute appointments, you can schedule a 15-minute really quick lightning appointment with either me or Dr. Ruffner Caesar. And so this is a time for you to ask a very quick question about your resume or cover letter or your CV, or a question about anything else that we can answer in a 15-minute time period. Some of you will have lots of questions and we'll ask you to make another 45-minute standard appointment. So if that's you, then go ahead and make a regular appointment. But this is for really quick questions for these lightning sessions. And you can make them the same way that you would make any other appointment on Handshake. And Interview with Ease is another workshop we have coming up. There is another A Cover Letter is Like a Love Letter workshop, but you all have attended this one, so you don't need to know about that one. Interview with Ease is on November 7th, and so we'll really help you take your interviewing skills to the next level and learn how to interview with ease and confidence. And finally, these are just some of our events in the Columbian College. There are so many other events that you have access to here at GW, and so make sure you're continually checking Handshake for those other events. So now is your time to ask questions. I know some of you probably have questions, so feel free to either ask them in the chat or unmute yourself. And if you don't have a question, I would love to know, was this workshop helpful? And if yes, what about the workshop was helpful? And you can also feel free to put that in the chat. And again, everything will be shared after this meeting. Okay, I like the idea of brainstorming before writing the cover letter. That's great. Really important and will definitely save you time. Okay, very helpful. My first time receiving professional cover letter training. Great, I'm so happy to hear that. Helpful, made it less scary. I'm very glad. Awesome. I appreciated what to include in each paragraph, including aspects from the job description. Great. Very nice. Any questions? I'm also happy to answer questions about our services as a whole. It doesn't have to just be about cover letters. Okay, example, the 3 things that should be included in the cover letter, very helpful. Awesome. Great. Well, if you all don't have any questions, or maybe some of you are still typing in the chat, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it, and we're so happy that you are engaging with career services. We always share this statistic with our students that even engaging with career services just one time throughout your college experience greatly significantly improves your chances of becoming hired within 6 months after graduation. And so consider this year 1, but of course, the more you engage with us, the more prepared you'll be for career success. And so again, we're really happy you're here, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your day with your busy class schedules. Okay, so I have a message for the resume appointment. That's 15 minutes. So Resume Madness, do you look at the CVs as well? Yes, we do. But if you want a full review of your CV, which tend to be longer than resumes, definitely schedule a 45-minute appointment instead of Resume Madness. But if you have just one question, happy to help you in Resume Madness. Okay. All right. Well, thank you everyone so much. This concludes our meeting today. Again, please feel free to reach out to us and look out for an email with the slides, the recording, and the template. Have a great night.